Hello and welcome to another episode of the Opportunity Podcast. I'm your host, Greg, the head of marketing over here at Empire Flippers. And today I am interviewing Nathan Hamilton, a multiple acquisition entrepreneur who had just acquired Dividends.watch. So, Nathan and I, we have a pretty free range, long conversation about all things SEO, where niche sites are today, what people should do. And then there's a little bit of a special segment in this one where I actually have him ask me questions. So, Nathan was one of the first people to fill out a form we put into our newsletter. If you wanted to come onto our podcast and ask Greg really whatever, you can come and do so. So he was our first guest in this segment. So if you like it, if you want to be a person that can come onto this podcast and we can have a conversation about your business and what you're thinking about, then make sure you subscribe to our newsletter This Week in M&A, because we'll probably be publishing that form again so we can have more conversations like the one I had with Nathan today. So this is a very fun conversation. I think you'll learn quite a bit what it takes to actually grow in terms of an SEO content strategy. What does distribution look like in the age of AI when it comes to a more holistic marketing channel, and kind of my own thoughts that have been the same since 2016 about building brands, funny enough, where a lot of my SEO friends are finally doing that advice. So with that said, enough talking from me. Let's get into it. I think you'll enjoy the show with Nathan, and I'll see you on the other side. All right. I have Nathan Hamilton with me today. Nathan, it is good to be talking to you. For my audience that may not know who you are, why don't you give us a brief rundown of who you are, where you are in the world, and what are you doing?
Yep. So my name is Nathan Hamilton. I'm a solopreneur, and mainly my business model and what I focus on for myself is acquiring underutilized sites, growing them, and kind of turning them around, and either selling them out over a 3 to 5 year time frame or holding them for ongoing. I don't know if we should say passive income because everything requires work, but when the work's been done up front, you could have more stable income in the future.
We only use passive income when we're trying to sell a course. That's the
Exactly.
marketing.
Did I tell you about the course I'm ready to sell you today?
You're selling
I'm joking. No, I'm joking.
We could have, got the referral link before we started the podcast.
Yeah. Nope, I do not offer any passive income courses. That is definitely not my expertise.
All right.
But growing websites, that's what I know about.
I think we've enticed the audience with how to grow active income.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. So how did you get involved in all this? What led you to start buying and acquiring, websites?
Yeah, kind of roundabout process, to be honest, and wasn't the path that, I would have necessarily guessed 20 years ago. But my background was in equity investing. So I worked in the stock markets, covered various sectors, was a stock picker. But over time, when I graduated from grad school, I thought I would continue down that path, but ultimately came to an opportunity with an investing-based media property and decided to funnel that experience more into educating people about investing versus being a stock picker myself. So that kind of kicked it off in early it was probably like 2010s or so when I gained first experience there. But that's where learned everything about digital publishing, from content SEO to podcast, video, media, everything, and kind of brought me to where I am today. Essentially, I went the entrepreneur route in 2022 after growing a bigger sub brand within a large media property that turned out to be pretty successful in the personal finance affiliate space.
So you started, were you investing before you went more full-time? Like, were you acquiring before you went more full-time, or is that started in 2022?
I mean, it was kind of around COVID time. So, needed some projects to always work on. But regardless, when I was in the, I've always been in the digital publishing space, I think it's good to always have side projects just to kind of keep sharp. You can test stuff on smaller sites where the stakes are a lot lower and apply them to a bigger site if you find various wins that you couldn't necessarily do. So I've always had some sort of, side hustle or working on various projects, but I decided to make that full time in 2022.
I agree with you on the side hustle thing. Even with like EF, if we're deciding to do something, we're like, we don't know how this is going to do with the brand.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we just test it over here where no one realizes it's part of us? Yep. See how it goes over here first. So I agree with that. So you recently just acquired a new website, which like it translates well with your background, but dividends watch. So tell me a bit about
Yep.
what was the incentive behind the purchase? Are you looking to kind of like repeat that past success, or like why did you go about and acquire it?
Yep. Follow my traditional blueprint. So what I look for in an acquisition is finding a site that's underutilized. Typically will have been owned by a single owner previously, and
Mhm.
maybe they have some specific expertise in one area, but don't have an expertise in another area. And that's where I can kind of fill in the gaps and grow it from there. So Dividend Watch definitely had that. Essentially, it's an investing based product focused on dividends, offering portfolio tracking and dividend insights for people growing toward retirement and in retirement. But looking at it, the prior owners, great developers, great product experience. They built out a great product, really clean, good UI. Our users love the product and so forth. But they didn't necessarily have the content experience. They didn't know how to grow an SEO. They didn't know how to grow in different distribution channels and so forth. So built a great product and they got some good traffic to various aspects of the site. But really, where I come in is bringing the expertise on content growth and growing the traffic and distribution.
And when you say content growth, are you primarily talking about SEO, or is there other distribution kind of rolled into that mix?
Yeah, primarily SEO. That's one of the focuses there. But people look at there's different aspects of SEO when you consider as well. It's a broad-reaching topic. Everything from digital PR to evergreen content to more timely news content. All kind of considered under the umbrella of SEO. So it's pretty vast when you look at the opportunities and kind of what to cover there. But traditional evergreen content is definitely a core of it. And then there's also kind of the timely news strategy, which people target, say Google Discover or various other properties like that with timely content.
So I got to ask the big elephant question in the
Mm.
room here. How are you faring with all the Google updates right now?
So it depends on the sites over time, but from 2022 to 2024, I had some niche sites. Some did okay. Others just kind of disappeared off the internet. They were good sites. I had quality content, but they were niche sites that lost traffic to bigger media properties over time. So it's kind of been a mixed bag depending upon the site and where it was in terms of its history and content library and product experience. But there's definitely been some sites that have been hit very hard and just had to close them down and move on to the next project.
All right. So the sites that you had to close down, were they mostly like affiliate sites, informational sites? Was that like a common theme in your portfolio?
Yeah, I had one site, DIY Gear Reviews, which was focused on essentially DIY home and tool reviews.
Mhm.
And that site had everything that you'd look for in kind of a first-hand review, super in-depth, quantitative-based reviews of tools that really you couldn't necessarily find online in that depth. But even with that focus, it still just got hit by traffic over time. Reddit took traffic, bigger sites took traffic from it. And those bigger sites too got hit with traffic up algorithm updates as well. So it's hard. Definitely, I probably at this point wouldn't start any sort of reviews based website in the affiliate space from scratch. You got to look at kind of medium sized properties and bigger to really be competitive there. I mean, Google's admitted in recent court documents that they favor big brands in terms of their publishing search
Which
results.
everyone
So
knew. We
it's
didn't need the court to
yeah,
reveal it, but yeah. That's fascinating, man. It's tough. We sell a lot of affiliate sites. As you know, I believe you have a business for sale with us right now. And it's like I think it's still, I'd be curious in your thoughts. And I want to get back to dividend.watch too, but my general, like I just did a YouTube video on this saying like I think buying an affiliate site can still be a good deal if your plan is to transform it to being beyond just an affiliate site. I think that can still be good. But what are your thoughts there? Would you buy an affiliate site in this kind of market right now?
it depends on where it is in terms of its life stage right now. If it's a small site or starting from scratch, I probably wouldn't within the niche space specifically. Any sites I'm acquiring now are not affiliate reviews based sites because AI and various bigger media properties are just taking over, and that trend is going to continue. But if you have a distribution moat and you're kind of a larger, more established site, I think there are opportunities there to grow the content libraries and grow traffic and grow monetization. But those are few and far between. And for the most part, the ones that are on the right trajectory, most people aren't going to sell. So it's hard to be a publisher right now in the small to mid-sized space.
So are you focusing more on businesses that have nothing to do with affiliate then? Kind of like Dividend.watch, more like software platforms?
Yep, more SaaS products, more aligned with my background in the investing side. But we'll do affiliate on this site, but it's never going to be a core component of the product. Building out subscription revenue that we own the monetization funnel and we own the revenue and the outcomes is really, I think, where the opportunity is.
I 100% agree. In fact, I so agree with you. I've been saying it since 2016 that people should do that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I remember at those points too, even when I'm, starting one of the affiliate businesses within a bigger media property, there was some like commodity content at that time frame, somewhat a saturated market. But I will say this, that business turned out to be incredibly successful within a short time frame because the company had an existing distribution moat. So if you've got that opportunity, absolutely, you can look at those sort of investments. But if you don't already have that distribution built in or a clear pathway to get there, it's very hard to compete and be profitable as a niche site owner.
And by distribution, you mean already have an audience built in some shape or form?
Somewhat, but expertise in terms of a high volume newsroom and how to get traffic and how to convert it, and also relationships with media partners to syndicate your content to as well. Yep.
Gotcha. I 100% agree with that as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Like I said before, our internet got cut off. I was saying like, I think affiliate sites can still be a good buy if your goal is to transform the model to another business model.
Yep.
I think that is still very viable and possibly a very good way to still grow a business. So I agree with you. Starting an affiliate site from scratch today, I would be a lot more hesitant to do that.
Yep. Like all the stars have to align. You have to be able to, add some monetization that's not currently there. You have to be able to add a content strategy that's not already there. You can't just buy a site and optimize it and sell it a year later. That's not a realistic thing anymore.
Yeah. So with Dividends.watch, what's your growth plan? Like, give me the steps you're going to take on Google with it.
Yep. So there is essentially no content plan from the prior owners. So to me, while there are the challenges in terms of organic content and AI and so forth, the fact of just turning on a content strategy overall is going to generate some traffic. So it's still a core component of it, but really what I'm focusing on as well is just expanding outside of evergreen SEO content to more timely content, and also looking at putting money into different brand investments that are going to increase, the awareness of the brand from there. Also, social media is something that we do rely on. Thankfully, we've already got a pretty sizable email list that we can build off of from there. So email, newsletter kind of distribution isn't necessarily the focus since it's already built out. But some of the traditional focuses, evergreen content and building out those content libraries is really important. But with kind of a site like we've got with Dividend Watch, is it's got some brand awareness and recognition and some authority. So we have to be, but the space overall investing is super, super competitive and saturated. We have to be really selective with the content we go after. So I spend a lot of time thinking about that strategy and where there are pockets that are less competitive. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons why Dividend Watch made sense is stock investing, massively saturated topic, well covered by a lot of big media and small media properties. But when you get into the niche side of it and really focusing, going a mile wide with a specific audience, there's an opportunity there.
Oh, it's so massive. How do you identify those kind of gaps? Are you using something like SEMrush or Ahrefs to like as part of your keyword analysis, or do you have another kind of recipe to figure that out?
Yep. The tools I primarily use are Ubersuggest and SEMrush.
Okay, right on. Very
Yep.
cool. And you just do content gap analysis with your competitors, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I try not to focus on competitors as much as possible because for the most part, you can kind of see within the tools and so forth where your opportunities are without reviewing competitors. I think sometimes if we get too much reviewing competitors, you kind of copy their strategies and you end up not seeing the results.
Get too lost in the sauce, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But all of them, you can, particularly with SEMrush and even Ubersuggest as well, you can get quick insights into various topics and see how competitive they are and how likely they are to rank. And I've seen that play out firsthand. Like there are just topics that as a small to mid-sized site, no matter how great your content is, no matter how optimized it is, no matter how much users like it, it's just simply not going to compete if it's a super competitive topic. And that is the case in many of the investing areas. But I will say there are also within saturated areas plenty of topics that are not well covered, that are not competitive, that if you do have a focused site and a focused strategy, you can absolutely rank for them.
So are you utilizing like AI for helping you create this content? Or are you still like using, actual humans? Like talk to me a bit about your logistics of your content plan.
It depends on the type of content. So, for example, when we're looking at standing up what we're in the process right now is kind of our best stocks research. So, targeting content, best dividend stocks to buy, best technology dividend stocks, and so forth. That's all human written because it needs to have an opinion and insights that are just more detailed than what AI can produce. In the future, AI can absolutely cover those topics, and it will. And it will be useful for users. Users will read it and say, hey, this is actually better than what somebody could have written on their own. And it'll get there. It's not there currently. But for more evergreen educational content where Google in their search results would surface the answer without a click to a website, or in AIOs or a ChatGPT response, that commodity content is heavily written by AI, but heavily researched and planned by a human.
Yeah, human assisted AI content. Yeah,
Yep.
that all makes sense. And I agree with you that I think AI will eventually usurp it or usurp the human pen, right? I'm seeing it
Yeah.
a lot in so many different niches. And I just tried out, I think it's called GenSpark. A buddy of mine showed me
Mm.
like how you can make a course more or less like super, super quickly with it using these like super in-depth prompting. So I tested it out like to do a course on buying businesses, right? And I was impressed. Like there's like some stuff that needed to be reworked, but overall it's like 90% what I would have made. Like,
Yeah.
wow, this is quite impressive. So yeah, it's definitely getting next level there. From an investor standpoint, so we talked about how you've kind of cooled on, affiliate sites and ad sites, but where are you looking to invest primarily with other acquisitions, or what are you aiming for?
So right now I'm actually not looking at additional acquisitions because
Whoa, whoa,
I'd
whoa,
say for the
whoa, whoa, whoa. I might sell you on a site before the end. You're on the
hey,
end of this
I,
podcast.
I still receive all the emails from all the various brokers with opportunities, but if I'm being honest with myself and smart, I should not acquire another site because what I've got currently over the next 3 to 5 years is going to take all my time.
It sounds like you don't need to be smart then, Nathan. Let me help you buy.
Yeah. I know. And that's I think a lot of people that are in the business they'll see a site like, oh, I should buy that. I could definitely do it. And then they underestimate the time involved to actually get it to where they want it.
All the
So
time, man.
yep.
Yeah, I see it happen. I play out so often. I had a friend, he wanted to build a diversified portfolio of acquiring businesses, and he
Yeah.
just ended up acquiring like six business models in just like a few months. I like, dude, your only skill set is like part being intermediate at one of these business models. You don't even
Yeah.
understand the other five. Why would you do this?
Yep.
So yeah, I
Yep.
feel you on that. So what's your
Yep.
plan with dividend at what? You want to scale it and grow it, or like what's your plan?
Yeah, it's my full-time focus and it will be, call it the next 5+ years. And one thing I've kind of learned over time, and I think can be relevant for Empire Flippers audience and so forth, is a lot of people come into it with the mindset, just like you said, hey, let's grab a portfolio of sites. I think I can manage it full time or as a side gig and grow it from there. But a lot of times you just end up with, you know, results that aren't what you anticipated. And you may have just seen better opportunity by taking a bigger swing, focusing on one site or focusing your attention on just that one property from there and being able to dedicate your time to it. Because regardless of, like, I mean, we already said it, but regardless of how much time you think it'll take to acquire a site and turn it around, it's always a lot more effort than you anticipate. So you've really got to be focused from the onset.
Like I always tell people, if you're just starting out buying a business, there's nothing wrong with buying like a smaller side hustle. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people have made money with that, and I still think there's
Yep.
opportunities with certain business models, like faceless YouTube channels, for example, to do a lot of that type of stuff. But like once you get your feet wet, I always tell people you should move up the value ladder because the world of M&A is very ironic. The bigger you go, often the safer the asset is. Within reason. There's always caveats, of course, but like a $2 million business is going to be able to hold itself better than say $100,000 business. It's just a way less fragile business. So I always tell people, if you want to go be less risky, you should go bigger. Like that's
Yep.
often the route to go.
And it makes sense. I mean, the career trajectory of a lot of people that focus on what we do is they need to get experience starting out. And
Right.
sometimes some of those smaller acquisitions are the right pathway. And then they learn over time, I made a little bit of money here. Let's take a bigger swing. Maybe this is more established. Do well with a couple properties there, move on to the next one, say, all right, let's take an even bigger swing, and the risk is less. So it's interesting to see that play out for a lot of people.
The other irony that is super related to that, it is often from a broker perspective a lot easier for us to sell a bigger business than a smaller
Yeah.
business, and from a buyer perspective it's often easier to buy the bigger business because like different routes of financing come available, right? Like if you're looking
Mm-hmm.
at a $15 million business, like, well, no one has that in their personal checking account, right? Like you're using some kind of different financial vehicles to acquire some such a thing, right?
Yeah.
So I always find that a very ironic thing in the M&A world. What would you tell our audience? Maybe they are also looking to acquire other business models outside of the affiliate space. Like, where would you tell them to go? Like, what online business models do you think investors should be looking at?
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily models, but looking at aspects of what may make a good acquisition. And I think there are opportunities across models. Some are more or less competitive or more or less difficult. But if you find an opportunity where you have a skill set that has not been represented on the site currently, and it can significantly grow revenue, not talking just 2x, it's got to be more than that if you're committing your time to make it worthwhile, especially if you're turning around and selling the site at a later point. But if you see those opportunities where you can multiply the revenue and growth and traffic by a significant amount, then those are the opportunities. So let's say, for example, a dividend watch. These are various pathways we could go down in the future, but none of them are existing today. But there's no content strategy. There's no ads experience on site. There's no affiliate monetization. They've got a good subscription product, or we've got a good subscription product now that we own the site. But that all wasn't there before. So those key aspects, when I saw the opportunities, like, okay, I have experience in there. I can fill in the gaps where prior ownership didn't necessarily have expertise, and then turn on those revenue and distribution channels. So definitely look for those quick wins because they're really important in the early stage of acquiring a website.
Are you allowed to talk about the deal structure you did with Dividends.watch? Is that okay if we go into that?
Yeah, it was a straightforward all cash acquisition.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
And so with the previous owners, I'm assuming they were also solopreneurs more or less, or what was the makeup of the company before you bought it?
It was their side gig. So they're developers in Silicon Valley and work for some various companies and just built it as a side project together and brought in some friends and so forth to help out with, UI, UX and some of the stuff they didn't have experience with. But yeah, it was their side project. Ultimately, what they learned is using it as their off hours job, they weren't able to commit the time necessary to really build it out. So they were looking for a sale at that point so they could focus on their full time work and focus on family. There's only enough hours in the day. So
Right, of course. So when you took it over, I mean, do you have a technical background yourself, or what did you do in terms of replacing that developer UI resources?
yep, I outsource the development. For a non-developer, I'm pretty savvy on, the tech side. Don't understand coding, don't necessarily get in depth there, but can use various AI tools to at least kind of like poke around and figure out things that I need. But anything more complex, building out the tools, the back end, the front end, I'll hand it off to our agency developers. Over time, I'd like to bring that in-house once profitability is there and it makes sense. But I focus mainly on content and traffic growth.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming the previous owners didn't do any marketing of any kind.
I mean, they had basic SEM PPC ads, but they weren't paying attention to the profitability and ROI there, and they just weren't working. So immediately, one of the cost savings that I implemented when acquiring the site was turning off those ads because they were far from being ROI positive.
As they often are. Cool. So that's super interesting. What advice would you give to an investor? I mean, you said you have some skills with coding, but a lot of the people want to acquire a software business
Yeah.
and they don't have development skills. You said that you have a developer agency, so like that's one route they can go. But give some advice to a buyer with no technical skills looking to acquire a technical business.
Yeah. Buy a WordPress site.
Buy a
That's
WordPress.
going to be the best. Yeah. Buy a WordPress property because there's an endless amount of no code plugins that over time you can learn how to build some pretty creative and complex features using those various plugins without requiring a developer. But as you go the custom route outside of WordPress and other or other CMS platforms, you're going to require either an agency or in-house developer to build them out, and they're more complex and so forth. So If it's your first time and you're not a developer, but you want to build out a site, go WordPress for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's hard to argue. There's also such a pool of huge talent that knows WordPress as
Yeah.
well. So there's
Yeah.
also
Developers are cheap and they're good. Sometimes it's hard to weed through all the ones out there to find the good ones, but eventually, through some effort, you definitely can. But the simplicity of managing a WordPress site and building some rather complex tools and experiences is straightforward once you get familiarity with it.
what's your advice for hiring developers? It sounds like you've been
Yeah.
skilled at picking the weeds and the flowers from each other.
So I've hired in-house developers previously and I've hired contract developers. I'll focus more on the contract side. I think that might be most relevant for the audience here. But I went through a stage of, I don't know, with, over the past years on prior sites, I probably had 20 different developers that we tested, and either, some of them didn't work out or they fell off because they had to move to other jobs or they just weren't reliable and consistent. So what I developed over time was just an initial blueprint for testing out developers to determine if they're going to fit with the approach we have on the site. So I typically use Upwork to find contractors, and we'll provide some sort of initial project that requires some critical thinking and just to get a feel for how they approach things, if they're reliable and so forth. And if they're successful in that project, we'll move them on to something a little more complex. But it's definitely, you have to have an initial testing phase in there to see if they're the right fit, because Upwork's a good platform, but there's a lot of people on there that are just not reliable and
Yeah.
don't have the quality that's needed.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So that you basically advise to give like a paid small test basically
Yep.
to the developers, see if they're worth their salt.
Yep.
And that makes total
Yep.
sense. I'd agree with that strategy. So when it comes to acquiring businesses, I'm curious, as like your previous life was a stock picker, right? You're very familiar with the equities world. How would you compare the ROI of acquiring, these digital businesses versus that more traditional investment of stocks and funds?
Yep. So, I mean, let's compare it. Looking at the long-term return of the markets. If you're an average investor, which most people can expect over, 2, 3, 4, 5 decades, 78% returns annualized is what you're going to see. It's definitely a lot with compounding to turn small sums into, much larger sums. But when you find the right media property and acquire it with the right aspects and the right expertise, the ROI can be much higher than, 7, 8%. When you think about, I'm always surprised by how large these markets are once you tap into them with the right strategy. Many times they're far larger than what you think they can be. And even when it's competitive, they can be far more significant than what you think they can be from the beginning. But you got to have all the right stuff from the onset.
Yeah, I tell people, I'm curious if you agree with this or not, actually, from your investing background. So, like, I invested in real estate, but I think the two best things to invest in is businesses, whether it's digital or offline, and or real estate, and ideally both. So I always say real estate is kind of like an income floor. Like that floor is not going to go down on the rental property price. Typically it goes up, right? Or it's relatively stable, but it has a very low income ceiling despite that floor, because you can't just like double your rent in 30 days, right? By doing a CRO campaign on it. Like, I'm sure there's some weird, shady way you can double rent, but probably not a good thing to do. But with businesses, is extremely high income ceiling, but no income floor, right? You can be
Yeah.
selling, you can have a $200,000 affiliate site. Google has an update, suddenly you have a $0 affiliate site, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way I've always viewed it. Is like the potential for earnings is so crazy high, especially when you acquire a business. Feel like it's way safer than starting one from scratch. Do you feel like that's generally true as well?
Yeah, I do think it's true. But I think here's one CFO I used to work with before. I had a really good quote that stuck with me over the years. When I was pitching this personal finance brand with the larger media property that ended up being pretty successful, I had thrown out some big numbers. I'm like, hey, I definitely think with our moat, like we can build it to, this 9-figure sum and so forth. And he said something like, to make 100 million, you also have to spend $100 million. And that really resonated with me. And I think it's even more important when you're a small to mid-sized site operator is the period that you're going to invest on profitably is a lot longer than what you probably anticipate, because to make a certain amount of money, you got to spend that money as well. So the acquisition price is just the beginning of what you have to invest in those businesses.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I always tell people you should have some working capital set aside. Like usually the good rule of thumb I say is like 10, 20% of the purchase price, ideally. Like again, there's a bunch of exceptions to that rule, but Yeah, like you're going to be like you just started putting money into it after the deal closed. Like you
Yeah.
like maybe there's ways you can juggle it. There's different things, but you are probably going to be injecting more capital into it. But I still think it's the return on the like a cash basis return, the cash on cash return is just like crazily phenomenal in comparison to say real estate or stocks, though
Yeah.
riskier for sure.
Yep.
Well, cool, man. Well, we're actually getting closer to the end here, but I know you had two questions for me, so we have this little Q&A section for Greg. Do you want me
Mhm.
to read off what you put here, or would you like to ask the questions yourself?
I can read them off. I've got
Yeah.
access to them here, so and they're always something top of mind, so I remember them. But how are you seeing, kind of in your position, firsthand with sites, how they're navigating the current environment? Whether it's Google's taking more site traffic, ChatGPT is as well. There's AIO and so forth. How are you seeing small to mid-sized sites navigate everything right now?
So, and we're talking about like affiliate sites, like the content sites, like that type of
Yep.
business.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I actually have a YouTube video coming out here that's looking over the trends from like 2023, 2024, and 2025 of like content transactions we've done. And like the industry is very wounded, would be my honest
Mm.
opinion. I think kind of similar to what you said, I think small and medium sized publishers are in trouble if they remain affiliate sites and display ad sites. Like I think those businesses should rush to either exit the business, do someone who's about to do the second thing I'm going to say, or they do the second thing, which is transform the business model beyond just being an affiliate site or a display ad site. Like I said earlier in this interview, I agree with you so much. I've been saying this since like 2016, right? Like I remember, I think it was in 2018, I was speaking at Affiliate World, and one of these other speakers, I was talking to him. He gave this great speech about how he focuses on getting people to sign up for his newsletter instead of like
Mm.
clicking an affiliate link and off the website. So he focused all of his efforts on newsletters. And his strategy was very different than, say, your typical SEO affiliate. What he did, this is back in the days of like when BuzzFeed was just blowing up virally with every post on Facebook, right? Those newsjacking kind of viral Nova sites. So he had a site like that. And eventually that strategy completely died and no one was getting any traffic at all. So I asked him, well, what did you do that? Like your business must have been wrecked. He's like, no, man, I have an email list of over 1 million people. For the last few years, I just sent out 4 affiliate offers a month and I make multiple six figures a year. Like, wow. So this
Mm.
guy adds, well, do you do anything else? Like, no, not really. So yeah, just has this one business with this email newsletter, right? Now, behind it's always 2020. All the SEOs in the crowd might be saying, "Well, we can't do that anymore." Like, of course you can't. Like, that era might be over. Who knows if it's going to come back? But whatever the new thing is, that should always be your focus. Like, focusing on how do I hold the cards? How do I keep the customer data? Or how do I build the audience where the audience doesn't leak out to someone else? Because I always would tell them, like, every time you get paid because someone clicks your affiliate link or clicks an ad on your website, always remember the person on the other side of that affiliate link or that ad is making a lot more money than you. Like ask yourself, how do
Mm.
you get to that side? Because that side is way safer. You have way more control. And that's my advice to like these smaller publishing sites. Now, in terms of what they're doing, some of them are all right. A lot of them are hurt pretty badly. Some of them are taking my advice and trying to go into that kind of new direction, and a lot of others have just completely given up, to be honest. I have a lot of I was in a mastermind, I think it was 2 years ago now, so I think like the wound was fresher back then than it is right now. And this guy who's like an absolute master of affiliate SEO marketing in the mastermind, he said, I don't know how to rank an affiliate site anymore. I was like, whoa, like if this guy doesn't know how
Yeah.
to do it, like that's kind of the canary in the coal mine, right? So I think as time goes on, more info query keywords are going to get absolutely eaten up by I think Google's dominance from a content publishing perspective is not over, but it will continue to go down for a while. And like I think people are going to get more of their answers from AI, and AI chatbots and stuff like that are, at least right now, are very bad at sending traffic to people. Like we get leads every single week from all the major LLMs right now, but so I think people are going to have to find new models. I see a lot of niche site owners right now moving over to faceless YouTube channels. That's really popular at the moment. I wouldn't say it's a one-to-one replacement for the old niche site days, but faceless YouTube channels are popping at the moment. And they're having their day in the sun, just like niche sites did and for profile newsletters did. So there's always going to be something new, But the core theme I always tell people in terms of how do you navigate this stuff is like, ask yourself, how do you control the data? If you control the data, then all these other like tech daddies that destroy your traffic, they can't do nearly as much to you. Like when they do it, it will still hurt, but you still have a business at the end of the day because you planted these seeds, right? Where you own the land, like through a CRM or a newsletter. So that's kind of my long ramble on that subject.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple interesting points on that. So one, owning your own revenue is going to be really critical. So whether
Absolutely.
that's subscription product or whatever product you're selling where you control it, that is very important compared to affiliate and ads models, which the ad budgets, whether you're working directly with advertisers or through display ads or affiliates, those can disappear, and they have disappeared in certain regards. Now, I don't necessarily see that happening for affiliate, but you have to roll with the punches when you're relying on somebody else to pay you to advertise. And the second thing, just kind of think about, I wonder if in 10 years from now, we'll see the renaissance with the SEO that we saw with maybe email. Because if you go back 10 years ago, email was a channel that was dead.
Yeah.
If we had LinkedIn back then, how many posts would we see from people? Email is dead, like
Right.
those sort of posts. And we see it now with SEO is dead. But like email newsletters and so forth, the last few years have been incredibly popular and have proven to be a really effective distribution strategy, content and distribution strategy. So I kind of wonder in 10 years from now what it'll look like in the SEO sphere, because right now, like there's definitely absolutely big challenges to grow a brand and get traffic. But I wonder what will it look like,
Yeah, I mean, what is old is new again, right? Like
Yeah,
one of the most unsung marketing channels, and it's not super relevant to a lot of people in my audience unless they have like other types of businesses. But one channel that is super unsaturated, that is incredibly effective, is direct mail, like old school snail mail.
sure.
Like people always talk about how do you stand out in the crowd in the inbox? Like go to where inbox zero exists. Like no one sends direct mail for the most part anymore. Like the literal mailbox is inbox zero for you to like kind of stand out with your offer. And I have friends who in other businesses done quite well with that stuff. So I think there will be like something that comes back down the pipeline with SEO. Because at the end of the day, like in order for these AI platforms to truly exist in the way that they
Yeah.
want to, like they have to be able to find a way to work with these content publishers in a meaningful way. So there will most likely be something akin to SEO, but my personal thoughts on it is whatever is the next iteration of that is going to be what Google technically was the next iteration of. So Google was the iteration, in my view, of like the yellow pages of the phone book, right? Like back in the old days in the 90s, you would like go to AAA plumber and they got the AAA because that's how you optimize the phone book, right? Because you show up number one for A. Like I feel like Google was like a much more advanced version of these yellow pages and white pages, right? So I think the next version of SEO, like I don't think we've seen what that looks like yet, but
Mm.
there will probably be another iteration of it, I assume.
Yeah. But it's important to remember too, the fundamentals of SEO still work. You
Oh
know,
yeah, yeah,
find topics that you can rank in, have good content, make sure all your fundamentals are in place, and you can grow traffic over time. But look at it as like a long-term investment. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And consider that the successes that you've seen maybe over the past 10 years may not be the same that you see in the future, but it's still a viable strategy as part of a broader distribution and content strategy. Whereas a lot of people looked at it before, like, we're just doing SEO. That's a strategy.
yeah. I don't want to be doom and gloomy, right? There's a lot of SEO
Yeah.
opportunities still out there, right? Like I have
Yeah.
friends in e-commerce absolutely crushing SEO. I think with your site, like if you focus on like tools and things that AI can't easily replicate, you'll kill it. Like Empire Flippers, our marketplace is our main SEO workhorse, right? Because AI can't really replicate what listings we have for sale, right? So like
Yeah.
it's not that easy for them to do that. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, like local e-commerce, especially with SEO. But to your point, the fundamentals are great. Like before all this chaos, I have a lot of super sensei level SEO friends, right? And they would be talking about topical maps, LSI, semantic indexing, like a bajillion different like SEO nerd terms, right? And I built EF over the last 9 years on the back of SEO, doing almost none of that stuff because
Exactly.
we're building a real brand, which makes everything way easier. So if you focus on building a real brand, SEO becomes much, much simpler.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that too. One of my philosophies, I think people make SEO a lot more complicated than it actually needs to be. And there's just core fundamentals that you can probably find with the guide that's ranking like how to do SEO. Just read that guide. Maybe it's 2,000, 3,000 words. Do those fundamentals and you've got everything else. I think one of the most dangerous things that people can, or most dangerous traps that people can fall into when they're new to content strategy and SEO is paying too much attention to, the SEOs on Twitter and LinkedIn, looking at stuff that really doesn't matter for the vast majority of people. Just look at your fundamentals. And it's the same with stock investing. It's the same sort of trap. There's so many different ways to look at it and things to analyze and how to do it well and different opinions and strategies. But there are just, 5 to 10 core long-term fundamentals that really matter to determine your success in investing. Focus on those, you're going to win.
100%. Like SEO, like my core main principles of SEO is like you need content and you need good links. Like those are like the main two things. And I specifically did not say good content because you can rank terrible content. You only actually need good content if you want to make money, in my view, like make a lot of money with it. So like that's the only real reason you need quality content. But to your point, listening to these talking heads, you mentioned the word digital PR earlier. And to me, when I hear digital PR, I think, oh, the marketers got lazy or they got tired of you saying the link building, basically. And so they needed a new name to put out there. I had
because Google says you can't link build.
Right. On LinkedIn, there's this guy who was going on about how he doesn't build funnels, he does world building. And I started trolling him a bit on this. Like, what do you mean world building? He's like, well, I build all this content and people are like, you're in my ecosystem. Then they go down into here, blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, you're just describing a funnel. Like, what do you mean? But like they need to like rename it to get people's attention. So they're talking about something different, right?
Yep.
Oh, well, cool, man. Well, I think you have another question here for me.
Yeah. So in your position as well, what strategies are people using to diversify maybe beyond SEO? What have you seen, maybe successes, challenges, and where people are looking kind of in the newer environments?
Yeah, so YouTube would be number one on the top of my head, both organic and paid. For the first time in a long time, I'm seeing my SEO friends try to do paid media, which in the past, they always just did that to create fake brand signals because their real goal is just SEO. But now they're like, oh, maybe I can actually make money with an ad, right? So working on stuff like that for their traffic, I see that being big. Depending on your niche, Pinterest is still pretty good from what I've seen people have. That works in more of like, home decor style niches, where there's like a decent visual element to make it work. But yeah, organic social media, people try it a lot. Like I'm not the biggest fan of organic social media because it can be like, for example, we got on the homepage of Reddit a few years ago and you look at our analytics and the main thing it did for us was destroy our analytics because I'll have to try to like exclude all that traffic because we had this like tsunami of traffic at the website and just like filter off, just like, going over steel or something. They never got deeper into the funnel. Like we made some sales from it, of course, but so a lot of organic traffic, like I think people make the mistake. I have a friend, so this is a good story for this, I think. So I have a friend, he's very successful in the supplement space, absolutely ripped. He could totally make a course on fitness and it could crush. Like he's living the life of it, right? And he wants to do that. And so he decided he was going to start a YouTube channel to do all this organic content to build up like his audience. Like, dude, don't do that. Like, what do you know about YouTube? Like, what do you know about building an audience? But there's all these different variables here. Like, it's way easier, in my view. If you want to do organic social, it's way easier to figure out what works with paid social first, and then translate that into organic. Because if you like run an angle on like say Facebook ads that's converting like crazy, there's a very good chance content around that angle can do well organically as well. Versus if you do an organic video that goes viral for whatever reason, it's not always that one-to-one translation between organic and paid. So paid almost always works organically, but organic doesn't always work for paid. So I think people are better off like focusing on paid strategies in general. And I think with that, in terms of distribution strategy, if you focus on paid media and you learn how to make your back end profitable, then paid media is a crazy leverage. It's absolutely nuts, right? Like I wish we could do it at Empire Flippers, but our sell cycle is so long. So it's like really, really tough to do. But if you have a shorter sell cycle, I think paid media is the place to be. And Like just go into it knowing phase one, you will definitely lose money. You're just there to like figure out, is anyone interested in this offer at all? And then phase two is like, how do I get to break even? And then phase three is a lot of the usually the back end of the funnel type of stuff. How do I make these economics work by having more upsells over here? So before I finish answering this question, I want to go back to your earlier question on like affiliate stuff. Like, what are affiliates
Mm.
doing, right? So I have another friend. He never did SEO. He's always paid media. He just crushes it with this digital course. He's doing like things like 80, 90 grand a month in profit. And it's just him, just solo dude, right? And he also makes an additional $12,000 a month affiliate wise because he just like on the back end, he was looking for ways to make the back end economics work. So after they buy the course, that's when they start getting like all these affiliate offers on the back end, which again allows them to scale even further and further on the paid media front. So that's some
Yeah.
of my advice in terms of diversified distribution. I think holistic marketing is the way to go, is the safest way. Because if you're
Yep.
all in on SEO or all in on Facebook, then when Google does an update or Facebook does a ban hammer algorithmically, like, well, goodbye business, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned too. I completely skipped over this with Dividend Watch. But one of the reasons why I also acquired it as well is it's got a product that we can build an affiliate program around
Oh,
and
beautiful.
then market to publishers from there. So this is honestly my first time on the other side of it where I've always been an affiliate publisher promoting other people's products. Now we've got a product that we can promote to other affiliate channels in investing as good payouts and so forth as well to be competitive. So there's a lot of audiences where it can be a fit. And I'm super excited about that strategy as well, outside of the normal, call it free content strategies.
Oh, affiliate programs are amazing, man. I think we make like 15 or maybe 25% of our revenue now from our referral program
Yeah.
at EF. Like the one bad thing with affiliates, you get like a million of them sign up and only like a few of them are
Yep.
ever going to do anything, but you only need a few and they cost all the free signups don't cost you anything anyways. But yeah, if as long as you pay good commissions, you have a very good proven back end funnel. This is another reason why I really like paid media. So with your paid media stuff to dividend watch, if you can show like, look how juicy these conversions are, and then use that, you can start using that in your outreach to like super affiliates, because a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
super affiliates who are the best, they won't even touch anything unless something's
Yep.
like ultra proven, right?
Yep. Makes sense. And a lot of people like interesting too on, as you look across your opportunities as a business owner and maybe you have money to invest in one of two out of maybe the 20 ideas you have. What I do like about affiliate is it's not a zero cost effort, but when you look at it compared to other channels, whether it's, standing up a content library, performance marketing, any sort of other strategies, it's rather cost efficient because, you can do revenue share deals where both sides win, or you can do an initial payout structure where maybe you pay a smaller payout and you get more profitable down the road. Whereas if you go into performance marketing, depending on the niche, and if you want to make a big impact, sometimes it could be 1 to 2 years of investing unprofitably to accelerate earnings before you are able to be profitable. And even once you are profitable, it's razor thin margins and always super volatile.
Yeah, it can be. That's why the back end economics are so important, right? Like SEO has the benefit of being unprofitable for like 6 months, and then like
Yep.
because there's no ongoing costs, right? You're just like getting the margins. But with paid media, you really need to dial in the back end to make it work, especially at scale, because at scale, all your costs go up because you're reaching bigger and bigger audiences are less intent, right? But with the affiliate side, here's a fire strategy for you if you get that to work for Dividend Watch. So as you grow, if you start getting affiliates that are absolutely crushing it for you, you should see what that affiliate's business is, because you might be able to
Mm-hmm.
acquire that affiliate. And now you have a whole new business, right? Like they can
Mm-hmm.
just like it's already somewhat integrated into a dividend note watch, right? So like that is a awesome strategy. You can use your own affiliate program as a kind of a source of deal flow for you in an M&A perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Well, I don't know who would be funny too, but I know in our initial notes here, you had one question about like, what's something funny that's happened to you, in your history as an entrepreneur or
Yes.
website owner. And I couldn't initially think of something until about a minute ago when you mentioned something. But when I was doing performance marketing for one of these bigger brands, and particularly in the SEM channel, I turned on a new campaign, forgot to set the budget and put it on broad match, whatever targeted keywords. I launched it, came back the next day, and we had spent $30,000 and not seeing a single conversion. So funny to me, maybe not to the initial owner, but we'll call it a learning along the way. It's crazy how big those ad channels are and how quick you can blow through your budget. So it's really important to pay attention to the details.
Oh, 100% with it. That's like
Yeah.
one of the other things I've always loved about SEO is like it's perfect if you're lazy. Like once the work is done, it's done.
Yeah.
This paid performance, you got to watch that stuff.
Right.
I had a campaign where I thought I was like this Facebook ads god because I was getting so many conversions. But I've been
Mhm.
around long enough to know if anything in marketing looks like it's working really, really well, that's actually a red flag that something's probably broken. So I looked
You're
into
double counting conversions. Like,
our team had put the conversion pixel without telling me from the thank you page to the
uh,
lander. So just like anyone who went on the page was counting as a conversion. Like, thank God I looked
clicks and conversions were matching up perfectly.
right. Like, this seems strange.
Yeah. I've had those before where we had absolute bonkers CTRs and CPCs were super low. We're like, okay, we got the angle. This is it. And then we ran the campaigns for a couple of weeks and there were no conversions.
Right.
That sort of stuff happens
Yeah.
pretty significantly. But I will say this, like that provided an opportunity where we could look at then scaling around organic content that people were very, very interested in this specific headline and topic. And we ran with it and used it to pretty good success outside of paid channels.
But there you go. That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Using paid media to inform your organic strategy, I think is highly underrated. Like if you're spending paid media dollars effectively and profitably, like that's like one of the sources for such an amazing amount of content, like on the organic side, because you already know the angles work. Like people are interested in that. Buyers are interested in that, I should say. So yeah, definitely. Well, man, do you have before we get into the remaining two rapid fire questions, my thunder on the final one? Do you have any other questions you want to ask me before we get into the rapid fire?
No, it's been fun. Let's get into kind of the final questions if you got them.
All right, normally is three, but you already did. So the first rapid fire question for you, man. In your view, what is the best hidden growth opportunities right now in the online business world?
I don't know if it's hidden because I don't think there's anything hidden online because most markets are pretty saturated. But I think I'll mention just going back to building your own affiliate product and being able to promote that to other affiliate publishers. So owning the revenue is definitely a big opportunity versus being the one promoting other people's products.
100%. The more you have control, the less risk you have, basically. So I
Yep.
agree with that. What tools or resources can people use to help grow their business?
I mean, there's endless number of tools. I look across what we use for our tech stack and various tools across Dividend Watch, and there's easily 25 paid subscriptions that we use, whether it's backend and architecture or just SEO tools. I will say this, you can get away with cheaper versions of these products if you're really looking to save some money. Uber Suggest is a good opportunity if you don't want to pay the SEMrush subscription, which even for a basic SEMrush subscription is around $150, $200 per month. Whereas Uber suggests, I don't know what it is, $20, $30 per month. It does a lot of the same stuff. Maybe not as good, but it does the core stuff pretty well. And then also Google Keyword Planner. It's free and you can get access to all the keyword research you need there.
100%.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I think people get lost with like the best tool. Like, well, you don't really need the best tool, do you?
Yeah.
You can like make it work with over here and be almost just as effective for like 1/10 of the cost as the person's 100%, right? So I'm
Yep.
with you on that. Well, cool, man. If someone wanted to pick your brain, connect with you, where should we send them to, Nathan?
You can send an email directly to me. That's probably easiest. Just nhamilton@dividend.watch.
Great.
That's the best way. I'm on various social channels, but I don't keep up on those as much as I do email. So
And just so everyone knows, if you email Nathan, he will have an autoresponder set up with his Empire Flippers referral link. So you can go buy some
exactly.
from us, right?
Yep. There we go.
I sold you into it. Perfect. Well, Nathan,
Yep.
it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
As well. Thanks, Greg.
There you have it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it got you inspired at all the different things that are happening in this industry. And of course, if you just want to buy a highly profitable business, you can always go to empireflippers.com/marketplace, or maybe you want to make an exit of your highly profitable business, and you could go to empireflippers.com/sell your site. I've been your host, Greg. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a review, give us a like, a follow, share it across social media. Talk to you all soon. See you on the next episode.